Are you ready? All right. So, hello, everyone who's here and everyone who will watch this later. I am recording today with my sister. I'm going to let her introduce herself, but our topic of the day is sound healing. So, we're going to talk about all things related to sound. We will hear some sounds, and it's really important that you have headphones for this because that's the best way to experience it. So make sure of that first. And then if you're in the meeting now, just make sure not to unmute yourself because it will affect the sound, and I'll try to keep um, everybody muted as they come in. And I'm trying to think if there's anything else I need to tell you guys before I don't think I have anything else. So I'll just let you take over and introduce yourself.
What do you want me to add in my introduction aside from my name, which is Amanda? I'm located in Los Angeles and I do sound healing full time.
I mean, tell us everything. What is sound healing?
Mm,
Why are we learning about this? I mean, I have questions too, so if you want me to ask you questions, I can do that.
okay. Well, I'll just share a little. Well, sound healing's been around for a long time. It's back into ancient times, but really how I would describe sound healing or a sound bath, which is usually what you create with all the instruments, would be to call it a relaxing meditation that takes you on an inner journey. It clears your mind, relaxes your body, and activates your body's natural healing systems. And I think you guys have kind of gone over this, but just to go over it again, it does all of these things that are seemingly magical, but they're not. There's some science behind it. It does all of this through brainwave entrainment. So the frequencies of the instruments entrain your brainwaves to shift from an awake and alert brainwave state into more relaxed meditative brainwave states. And why that's important is because in those more relaxed brainwave states like theta, delta, maybe even alpha, but more theta and delta, the parasympathetic nervous system is activated, and then the body's natural healing systems are also activated. The parasympathetic nervous system is important because it's our rest and digest system. So it takes us out of that fight or flight, or even just, awake and alert where we're not in that resting state to do those other things, to allow our body to do those other things that it does to help us heal and rejuvenate. Questions?
Okay, so I guess the thing that I would like to kind of dive into that's more about you is how you got into doing this and maybe what your experience was, like why this is something that called to you.
Oh, man. How much time does everyone have? No, I'm kidding. Um, Really, it started in 2015. I had a client who suggested, I was working as a hairstylist. I had a client suggest that I attend a sound bath because he knew I was into like crystals and meditation, and I was newly getting into meditation at the time. And so I went and I was like blown away. And I also had this like feeling the first time the person was like introducing themselves and showing, basically that little spiel I just gave you on the sound healing. I had this like knowing that I was meant to do that, but I quickly was like, okay, no, that's weird. I would never be able to stand in front of people, or I don't know anything about sound healing. So there was that little thing, but I went for years because and I find it hard to meditate sometimes, so it really helped me to like drop into a meditative state. And I had these like really incredible experiences. I would like go on these, like I was saying, like inner journeys. It's Everybody has a different experience when your brainwaves are entrained in that space, and there's just something extra incredible about the creation of the sound bath, I think, that just takes you on this really wild ride. So that was my experience. I wanted to do the training for years, but I just kind of would blow it off, or I would always have something with work, with the hairstylist work. And then when the pandemic situation hit, I bought a bowl when we first went into lockdown and all the salons got shut down. So I bought my first crystal bowl and I just thought, fuck it, I might as well. And then I bought more and more and more. And so I ended up having the whole chakra collection of the crystal bowls. And I just started offering sound healing to friends. And then the training that I had been saying I wanted to do for years with a particular teacher came up and it was available right around this time last year. And so I did it. I took the training and then I don't know how to explain it. It just like blew up for me. It kicked off. I was assisting in that training. I ended up assisting with the teacher. I ended up getting hired on by the yoga studio where I practiced to do sound healing classes with them. And it's just kind of unraveled over the last year for me. But I think what I really found is that I wasn't quite sure where things were going with me work wise and with the sound healing, but as I worked with it, it just became clear that this is what I was supposed to be doing.
think one of the big things that I try to bring up a lot in what we do is that we're healers in our practice. So there's all these different ways to heal people, and bringing them in can make what we do so much more effective. And so I find that sound healing really kind of melds together with that. And for you, having been in the beauty industry, I think you can give us some perspective on that too, because you've been where we're at, working with people who are primarily concerned with physical aspects, but a lot of those physical aspects, even the way that we experience the physical aspects, come from things within us. So if you can kind of enlighten us on maybe how to blend healing with what we do and what that benefit might be from your perspective.
That is so interesting because I didn't really realize that I was already doing that with the like as you were talking I was like putting the pieces together. So in my salon I had been trying to do that. I had been trying to pull away from that. I need to look a certain way, my hair has to be a certain way, these sorts of things. And I was creating a space in my salon that was like soothing to the nervous system. I had like light blue colors, I played meditation music. And towards the end of me walking away from the salon, I actually brought my crystal bowl into the salon. And when people were in the shampoo bowl, I would ring the crystal bowl for them. So I was trying all of these ways to create this space where people were coming to quote unquote look better. But what I was really trying to get down to was like the deeper layers, the, other things I felt that were more like less surfacey. So I created my space in that like relaxing way, and then I integrated the sound healing in the way that felt best for me. So I would say if you were going to blend these healing modalities into your facial treatments and skincare treatments, I think it's important to explore and then figure out what feels right for you. Because just because I liked to play the crystal bowl while someone was in the shampoo bowl doesn't mean that's going to apply to someone's facial. I think it's super important that whatever tool you're using, you resonate with and there's like intention behind it. So somebody might find that the Tibetan bowl is the way that they want to work on their facial clients. So I would suggest doing that. But I think it's just so important that no matter what you decide to do, you connect with it so that it's like it's your creation, not just so and so said I should use a crystal bowl or I should use the chimes. It's like what feels right for you. What is your intuition telling you? How do you want to craft your service in a way that's unique to you? But like it is important that you feel it too, because it shows with the clients. Like I get people that come to sound baths all the time and they're like, I've been to so many sound baths, famous sound healers, and there's just something about yours. And I know why. It's because I connect deeply with all of my instruments. I set my intention and everything I'm doing has a purpose and I feel it and I believe in it and I'm offering up these sounds in a way that I feel is going to be really healing. So I hope that made sense. I kind of went off on a little tangent.
Oh, it did. I think uh, intention is the key, right? Because I know that we've had this conversation before, but intention to me is what sets us apart from another person. And you can't just follow a protocol. Like you can't just pick a sound healing class and they tell you to play these bowls in this order and that's what you do and create an experience. And it's the same thing with a facial. You can't just do a facial massage protocol or do something that someone told you to do and have it resonate. Or like meditations, I think that was another thing we talked about. Like you can't script a meditation. It's more natural and it feels better when you say it because of what your intentions are and what you've connected to. So with that, I think the other thing that comes into intention is the knowing, the knowledge, right? Like we have to know what we're doing, otherwise it doesn't matter what our intention is because we're never going to be able to follow through. So can you tell us a little bit about how maybe we would choose a tool or how we would test a tool to see if we connect with it, or even if we can talk a little bit about frequencies and how that comes into play?
Yeah. So there are some metaphysical stores have bowls in their stores. Dad used to take me to like crystal shops where they had bowls that you could play. Um, and there's like you could like watch stuff on YouTube too and see like, oh, I like the way that sounds, or I feel like I want a crystal bowl, or I want the Tibetan bowls are calling me. So that's one thing. um, and then you can choose bowls based on frequencies that affect the body in certain ways. So I think you have a list of the different hertz, right? So there is a specific company who makes crystal bowls who they don't stick to like the 432 hertz protocol that a lot of people do. So they have all these different hertz that you can choose from, and you might feel like you really want to help your like there's a lymphatic system one. I'm almost positive. I don't want to say for sure, but I feel like there is. So you could try and find a bowl or have a bowl made in that frequency as well. If your thing is that you want to help people with like lymphatic drainage and toxin release, and yeah. Was there more to that question that I didn't answer?
No, but frequency. So yes, I have frequency maps in the course, but not everyone has access to that. So because there are some people who aren't in the full course. So just so people know that's in there. And there's so many different options. Like there's the 432 hertz, which is our like most healing frequency. It's the earth frequency, right? Like the frequency that the earth is vibrating at all times. So it kind of keeps our bodies working the way that they're supposed to. But there's different frequencies for like every single organ in the body, for all the chakras, for all this stuff. And they're all based for the most part on sacred geometry and mathematical sequencing of different vibrations, which is cool. I don't know if you want to add more to that.
Yeah, I think it's really important to just trust what's calling to you. Like I knew what gong I wanted to pick because I went and I listened on the website to all of them, and I had the opportunity to hear them in person too. But there's just like a knowing, just like like when I picked certain Tibetan bowls, or when I chose certain instruments, I would listen to each sound. A lot of companies have the sounds available on the website, and then I chose them because of that. And I think I'm just trying to apply it to like in the skincare realm. I think it's just really important too that whatever you choose, you hear on yourself. So that like all these instruments I've heard on myself, and before, if it were me, before I ever had somebody lay down on my table to receive a facial from me, I would lay down on my table and have someone play that instrument over me so that I know, how it feels. What is the experience? I want to be in my client's shoes so that I know not to put the bowl that close, or to, bring the chimes over here, or what it sounds like, how it would it go well with a mask, or would it go well with a massage, that kind of stuff too.
That's a really good point. I like to use certain tools for sure to start the service and certain ones to end. Like waking up to certain things is nicer than others for sure. And there's times to use the chimes versus the drums and all of that. So I definitely agree with that. You have to get in there and do it. And I remember I went to a sound bath once and they told me like if this frequency is something that you need, then it's something that you're really going to feel in your body. Like you get the most powerful physical response from it, even if it's like almost a feeling of like this feels gross in my body right now. It's because you need it.
Yes.
So it's really important, I think, to listen to your body's physical response to those things because it should be physical in some way, right? Like these things are vibrating, and as the frequencies vibrate, they vibrate all the cells in our body, and that's part of the healing process that we're trying to kickstart. So it's also part to me of what makes this very effective in a facial treatment because you get a full body experience out of just using a simple tool. That's always my goal, is to like make every facial a full body experience where you feel like you're in another dimension because all these things are happening to you
Yeah.
that are like so sensory, like heavy sensory experience is what I'm trying to get at.
Yes, yes. And I want to add to that too, just because it's like coming up for me and I feel like I have to share it, even though you probably already talk about this too. But it does apply to like, how do we choose? Well, you might collect a couple Tibetan bowls or crystal bowl here and there. You have chimes or tuning forks, whatever you have in your collection, or you're even picking the frequency of what you're playing on your stereo, or whatever, a stereo. What is it, the 80s? But anyways, I think that it's super important that there's some sort of like intake with your clients. Like, okay, we're doing this facial, but what's going on with you? How are you doing? How's work life? How's home life? Do you have any body pain? Are you having, like just like a quick like, where are you at? That way, you'll be able to know what you should use on your client from that, or where you can concentrate that energy to. Like if someone's like, oh, I've been having stomach problems and I can't sleep and I have this big decision to make. I don't know what to do. Well, that sounds like third eye is blocked to me with the decision making. So you might want to play like instruments around the third eye, all these things. But I think that's why it's important to like really connect with your client, so then you know what to choose. And if you don't have any sound healing instruments right now, but you're trying to figure out what to pick, start connecting with your clients in that way, because there might be a theme. A lot of people might just be having anxiety or having this and that will help you pick like a really good general crystal bowl. If you want to work with crystal bowls, would be one for the heart chakra, because we all could use heart healing. So yeah, I just felt like that was important to say, like that connection with your client, so that then you know which instrument to apply.
Yeah, I agree with that. That's definitely something that is kind of a running theme, at least in the like body, mind, and spirit part of the course. Like we talk about doing those intakes, how to add them to your, like how do you add chakra questions to your intake? And how do you formulate that? How do you find out like if you want to use Ayurveda or Chinese medicine, like how do you put that onto an intake form and have a client answer that? But I do think that even just asking them and like finding out what those themes are, that's such a good suggestion. And the heart chakra is one I always come back to. Chakra system is a very easy, like meaning making system that we can start with to choose frequencies. So that tends to be the easiest one, I think, to think about without having to think of like all the different like organs in the body and all that other crazy stuff. So chakra is an easy one, and heart chakra especially is like good for everybody. Like heart chakra stones, heart chakra, anything, because it not just like what they come to us for is for oftentimes some self-love, like they're trying to take care of themselves, or they need somebody to love them, and that's part of what a facial experience is like loving on your client, touching them, giving them like physical touch that they don't always get, or whatever that experience is. So it's always to me a safe bet to do something heart chakra related for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, okay, let me see if I had anything else that we can talk about before we start. I think we covered so many good things. Okay, talk to us about some instruments. And this is the time, you guys, where you want to wear headphones for sure so that you can hear the sounds. And then if I have questions, I'll unmute myself and ask you different things. But if you can just tell us like what the instrument is, maybe if you're going to play things that are specific to chakras or frequencies, tell us what those are.
Yeah, let's talk about the gong.
Yeah.
Okay,
Oh, I
anybody?
wanted to ask you too, hold on, about because we talked about the chakra system and all of that and frequencies, but the gongs are planetary tuned, right? So there's like a different meaning making system to the planetary gongs that I think is really cool. So yeah, if you want to start by telling us about that, that'd be
Yeah,
awesome.
definitely. I wanted to, that's why I got excited and turned around. So the gongs really work on like a deep cellular level. So there was like these studies that they would do where they've taken like 10 participants, they draw their blood, and then they would do a gong bath for like 30 minutes and then draw their blood again. So in the first initial blood draw before any gong bathing, there was like inflammation markers and just all kinds of like icky stuff they could see in the blood, and then they did the gong bath for 30 minutes, and then in the second blood draw you could see the inflammation markers had gone down, and things had cleared, the cells looked healthier. So that's how powerful the gong is. They also help to clear the subconscious mind of limiting beliefs and the body of traumas. So it's such a powerful instrument. If you end up getting a gong for your facial treatments, you're basically the coolest person in the world, because I would love to have a facial with someone who had a gong. But it can be extremely powerful, and like you were saying, Bethany, they're tuned. There are planetary tuned. There's tons of gongs, but specifically what I have is this Jupiter gong. You can see the Jupiter symbol by, I can never say the name right. I believe it's Paiste or Paiste. I don't know. But they're the brand that does, actually, Meinl does planetary gongs as well, but I don't have that brand. So my gong, the Jupiter gong, is tuned to the frequency of Jupiter's. A mathematician mathed it up and figured out what the planets sound like. So this is what Jupiter sounds like. And this particular gong is for abundance, prosperity, and expansion. So if I were going to use this in a sound healing service, I would share that with my client. Or I'm sorry, did I say sound healing or facial? I'm so spaced out. I haven't even played the instruments yet. Yeah,
Same thing at this point.
if I were to use the gong in a facial, there we go, service, I would share that with my clients and maybe begin with that and have them set an intention, letting them know what the gong, applies to. So they might set an intention on some abundance they're trying to bring in, ways they're wanting to expand in their business. Abundance is not just about money. It's about so much more. So there's tons of other gongs for many different things, but that's just what mine is for. And it's not the overtone. It's like the main. So there are overtones with the gongs. You're going to hear all kinds of different notes coming through, but the fundamental note. There we go. That's what I'm trying to say. The fundamental note of my gong is an F sharp. So it's close to, if you subscribe to the belief that the notes correlate with the chakras. Not everybody does. I do. It's close to the heart chakra, which is the F note. So I really feel a heart chakra opening with this as well. And when it comes to playing the gong, before I play it, I want to ask you, Bethany, if you feel like there's anything I should add.
No, I was just gonna add that uh sometimes when choosing the planetary frequencies, you can real because to me, like we have to have a background of this, right? Like we have to know where this is coming from. So the best background I think for choosing the planetary frequencies would be like astrology. Like knowing what the planets do in astrology. If you're really comfortable with that system, then it may be easier to pick, or even like mythology, right? Because this
Yeah.
goes back to like Greek mythology and everything. So if you know what the planets are supposed to be doing or what their functions, like Mercury's communication, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So if we know those things, then we can easily choose and apply them then to what we're doing.
Yeah, and some people like to choose based on their sign. If it's a tool that you want to work with, you might want to choose in that sense. So Jupiter rules Sagittarius and I think Pisces. I'm definitely not sure about the Pisces part, but for sure Sagittarius. So a practitioner might feel like, well, I'm a Sagittarius or I'm a Sagittarius rising or whatever. I want to work with a tool in that sense. But that wasn't my experience. I if I were going off of that system, then I would have chose the Sun Gong, which I would love to have at some point in my life. But I picked Jupiter because I connected so deeply with it. I just knew it was right for me. And also at the time too, I was really trying to call in true like prosperity, abundance, like money, and it did that for me. So um, since I'm not super familiar with all of the gongs yet, I'm not going to say which one it is, but there might be a gong that could apply to like a full body type of thing for, or like you were saying, like Mercury would be great if you feel like you tend to have clients who are always having a hard time speaking up. You know, we tend to attract clients too that have similar issues that we either have currently in our lives or have had in the past. So yeah, there's my little spiel on the gong situation.
Okay, I'm going to turn my video off so that we're recording just you while you're playing, but I'm still here. So just let me know if you want me to unmute myself and say anything.
Okay, I'm gonna play really lightly, and then I'll even show you a little bit of like how to play type of situation too. So with a gong, you want to do, let's see, I don't know how to, like this movement. It's like a circular movement, soft on the gong, or you can even go up this way. Obviously, I'm going to be applying it to the gong, but I'm trying to show you guys like what the movement is. This, it's not this, it's not striking, and especially in a situation where you're working in a space with a client who's practically naked under a blanket being it's just like a very intimate situation. I would not play a gong very harsh or loud at all. And there are smaller gongs that you could actually have that wouldn't be this large, that you could play over your client's body, which I think would be so incredible. The Venus gong is small enough that you could do something like that, and you would just carry it by the handle and just lightly play it over your client's body and kind of swing it back and forth. Gosh, I would love to. If anybody does that, I'm coming to see you. Okay, so this is the gong. I'm going to play it lightly, and then I'll check in with Bethany to see if you guys could actually hear it. Okay, Bethany, could you hear that okay? You know what it's supposed to sound
Yes,
like.
yes, it sounded great.
So, yeah, I really feel like that little last bit about the smaller gong really applies in the skincare situation. I don't see a reason to have a large gong like this unless you really want to, or unless you're doing sound healing stuff on the side. I think the smaller gong is just would be just perfect, especially for the ability to bring it over your client's body, around their head. They're much lighter and much more affordable, I will say too, when they're smaller. Do you want me to play a little bit more, Bethany?
Yeah, you can play whatever you want. I was gonna add, I know that we had like discovered this and talked about this when we did the first sound test, but then we didn't say it today, that you may not want to turn your headphones up all the way, your volume. You may find that you have a better experience turning the volume down a little bit because it can start to get really loud in your ears. So especially as we get into like playing the crystal bowls, which I feel are, have like a little bit higher pitch, just everyone play with your sound, because if it feels like it's too much in your ears, it's probably just because your sound is too high.
Yeah.
I think we found like half sound was good.
Yeah, why don't I play some of the crystal bowls for you guys? Yes, Bethany?
Yes, sorry, I muted myself so you can play the bowls.
Just making sure. So I have, to my right here is it's an A note, which again, if you not everybody believes that the notes actually apply to the chakras. Different sound healers have different opinions on it. I personally feel it. I feel it in my body. So I do subscribe to that belief system. So I'm just going to explain it to you guys in that way. But it's okay if you decide that it doesn't resonate with you and you just like the notes, certain notes of crystal bowls, and you can truly use them. It's not like, oh, if I only play this one bowl that applies to the third eye, I can only use it in that way. No, it'll work on the whole body altogether. So this is an A note, which is for the third eye, and it's quite large for what most A note bowls are. I've noticed a lot of them are like on the smaller side, like this one over here, which is this an A too? No, that's a crown chakra bowl. Okay, this is the F note heart chakra bowl, I believe. I'm pretty sure. I don't have my full set out, so now I'm kind of questioning. This is the throat chakra, which is E? No, G? Yeah, G. G, and then this is B for the crown chakra. So you'll hear too that some of the, as they go smaller in size, they're more high pitched, which typically makes sense to me because if you think about it, when you get into these higher chakras, it would make sense for it to be like lighter and like high pitched as you're like opening up. And then when you're down here, you want things to be like more grounding and deep, which is why this bowl is so different because even though it is for the third eye, it has a very deep sound to it. So let me play it for you guys. I like it though. I like that it's a deeper sound for the third eye. There's something like a little spooky and like alien about it. This is the heart. And then the throat. And then the crown. All right, Bethany. Come back to us.
They sounded good. I think that I love like the gong. Oh, obviously I want a gong so bad, but the crystal bowls I find maybe a little bit challenging to use in a facial treatment just because of how big they are. Oh, then obviously they don't all have to be big, but it's just they're expensive. It's a little bit more of an investment. So it hasn't been like something I've been interested in necessarily playing for facials. But if someone were to, where do you think would be the best place to start? Like, would you want a crystal bowl or maybe one of the Tibetan bowls or what do you
I that's so tricky because I would hate to suggest something and then it not be right for somebody. So, um a good, but I will say a good, and I mean that in a sense that like I don't want to deter anyone from their intuition. Like if a crystal bowl is calling you, by all means please get one. And but if I would say for I know it's a lot. I know it's a lot. It was so much to invest in my tools. And, you know, as a hairstylist, it was so much to invest in my tools then. So I totally get it. So I think a good starter would be like a medium sized Tibetan bowl, not only because you can play it over the body and they're so powerful, but you can put it on the body too. So you can actually, you know, asking your client's consent, of course, but you know, set it on the stomach, set it between their legs, and hold it in your hands over their head. You can even put it on their head too while you're playing in their hands. There's so many different ways that you can go about using the Tibetan bowl, and it's, you know, it's not going to break on you like a crystal bowl. If they're easier to carry around, especially if you're coming in, and if the space isn't your own, every time you come into the space where you're working, you know, you'd have to bring your crystal bowl. And I just feel like the Tibetan bowls would be a lot easier to work with too. Yeah. More questions, Bethany?
No, that was good. We have a service that we do at the spa that I work at, not facials, but we do a full body massage with the Tibetan bowls, and they do place them on your body, which is
Yeah,
cool.
and there's like really great books out there on Tibetan bowls. So if you even just wanted to start with that and one of those like incredible books that teach you all about like where to put them on the body and stuff too, I think that would be like a smart investment because they're affordable, they're easy to learn about, easy to carry around. But if you felt called to use a crystal bowl, I think it's really important to follow that because your clients can feel when something is like true to you. You know, it's one thing to just be like, oh, someone said I should get a Tibetan bowl, so I'll use it. But when you have this calling to use a heart chakra crystal bowl or a crystal bowl in general, your clients can feel that, your enthusiasm about it, your connection to it. But like you said, Bethany, it can be tricky. You probably either want to have it up on a counter and you would play it, or you would be sitting on the ground like me too. It's you can, as you can see, hold this size of crystal bowl and play it. Doesn't sound that great. There we go. Yeah, so you could do that. That's the smallest. I believe this is a 8 inch. Um, but you're always going to have a high pitched bowl if that's the case. The smaller bowls, doesn't matter if this is a C note would be for the root chakra. A C note in this size is still going to be this high pitch. So the thing about that is it's for me personally, I wouldn't want a high pitched bowl playing over my head during a facial. I'm very sensitive. I don't often even bring this bowl with me to my sound baths. I don't really care for too long of the high pitched things. So you have to keep that in mind. The Tibetan bowls, while high pitched, still have like a total different sound to them. So yeah, that's something to think about too.
Yeah, will you play some of those for us so we can hear them? They definitely have a different sound to me too. And I think that's the thing that you're saying, like what you're called to is sometimes we're not called to the sound of the Tibetan bowl. Like it doesn't sound great to us or whatever. You know, they're made out of different materials and they have a different resonance to them. So
Yeah, and I actually don't play any Tibetan bowls in my sound healings. I don't connect with them, to be completely honest. Um, I was gifted one by my best friend and my dad that I love. You know, of course, I'll keep it, but for me personally, I don't connect with them. So I don't. I would not feel authentic using them in a healing treatment. That would not feel right to me. I have to be connected. Everything has to have meaning for me and what I do. And that's why I was saying, you know, like your clients can really feel that. People that come to me can really feel that. So I just know for me personally, I wouldn't be able to use the Tibetan bowls, but never say never. They might grow on me too. So I'm going to play some for you. I don't know what the exact notes are of these, um, although I think the larger one is a throat chakra. I think it's a G. But I think in the Tibetan bowl system, it's different. Anyways, here we go. I'll go from biggest to smallest. think too for the Tibetan bowls, this is something you would probably want to use at the end of a service because it's kind of like a bell in a sense, right? Essentially, it is, um, metal shaped like a bowl, basically. It has that more like awakening sound to it versus like if you were going to start, where's my mallet? Your service, like, a couple deep breaths with your client, calming them down and using something like this that is deeper. That's something I would want to hear before to kind of get me into a relaxed state versus something like this. I kind of expect that to be at the end of a service when I'm coming back into my body, back into the space after having been, pampered and treated. But that being said, I still think it would be very cool to have the Tibetan bowls used in the middle of the service, even though they are a little bit more high pitched. If you were going to actually use them on the body, that might be a really cool thing to do as well.
Yeah,
Again,
it's definitely a good like mask portion because during the mask you have to find something to do, and that's when I like to do like play my chimes, but like the chakra chimes or anything like that. And I
yeah.
like to start with the tuning forks. So do you want to show us about the tuning forks?
Yeah, so I will be honest, I'm just myself learning. Bethany, you probably actually know more than I do about them because I think you've been using them for longer. But I just got these Gaia frequency tuning forks, so they're tuned to the Schumann resonance, which is Earth's frequency. I think it's like 7.8 or something like that. But the tuning forks are a really great starter tool as well, aside from I know I said the Tibetan bowl, but actually the tuning forks would be great. These are even more affordable and they can be used in so many different ways. So you can get the same feeling of the, not quite the crystal bowl sound, but when you hit these and they make the sound, you put them next to your client's ear like this, and it's a similar feeling. They're still connecting with the vibration, and you can work with the hertz in that way too. Like you could get I chose one that is Gaia frequency because I wanted it for grounding. So similar to a root chakra bowl, you could get this to start in the beginning with the grounding. But even more incredible about these is that they can also be applied to the body. So you have this little tiny tool that does kind of all the things we already talked about. I really like the idea of having these, and even if even though this is a grounding tuning fork, being able to place it on the heart chakra, on the different chakras around the ears, so the client can get the feel. I just love the versatility of them. Do you want to add stuff to that, Bethany?
Uh, sure. So I mean, I have a pretty big set that I got from dad. So these ones are planetary tuned. So you can get like planetary tuned, chakra tuned, any tuning you want, really,
Okay.
whatever you want to subscribe to. But these ones are they're planets. So I do like to choose them more based on chakras, which I mean, if you just look up the frequencies and also they're colored, so you can kind of decide that way. But I also have three of them that are the same note, but different octaves. And I love to play those on each, like I'll play two different octaves and put them on each side of the head. And then like you're showing, like run them down the body
Mhm.
because you can feel it everywhere. It's so cool.
Yeah, they're extremely powerful for just that little tiny tool. And I think what you're doing with just to shift an octave is a binaural beat. I'm pretty sure, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, you're
Yeah,
creating a
it's the
binaural
same thing.
wave basically.